My father's voice cracked like cheap glass when he said her name. Mom's name tied to his new kid, the one he made while breaking her heart. I stood in his living room, the air thick with the scent of his new life baby formula, lavender perfume, and lies so bold they could choke you. He thought he could stitch up the past by naming his mistress's child after the woman he betrayed. My mother, who'd been gone 3 years and still haunted every corner of my soul. I was 25, too old to be blindsided like this. Yet there I was, feeling like a kid caught in a storm with no shelter. Dad sat across from me, his graying hair messy, his eyes avoiding mine, like they always did when he knew he'd screwed up. Next to him, Lisa, the woman who'd slipped into Mom's place before her ashes were even cold, cradled a newborn. The baby, innocent and unaware, gurgled softly, and I hated how that sound twisted my gut. This wasn't just about a name. It was about everything Dad broke and thought he could fix with a single, stupid gesture. 3 years ago, Mom died in a hospital bed, her hand cold in mine, her smile still trying to tell me it'd be okay. Pancreatic cancer doesn't negotiate, doesn't care about your plans or your promises. She was 48, too young to be reduced to memories, too kind to deserve the truth I learned 6 months later. Dad had been cheating for a year before her diagnosis. Lisa, his colleague, had been more than that, sneaking into his life while Mom was still planning family dinners. I found out when I saw them together at a diner. Dad's hand on her knee, his laugh too loud for a man whose wife was barely gone. I didn't confront him then. I was too raw, too busy trying to keep Mom's memory alive in my own way through her old recipe cards, her favorite jazz records, the way she'd hum while folding laundry. But now, here he was, sitting in his new house with his new family, telling me he was naming his kid Elizabeth, after Mom, as if that could erase the betrayal. Clara, it's to honor her, Dad said, his voice low, like he was confessing to a priest. Your mom was. She was everything. This is my way of keeping her with us. I laughed, sharp and bitter, the sound cutting through the room like a blade. Honor. He didn't get to use that word, not after he'd spent nights with Lisa while Mom was throwing up from chemo, not after he'd let Mom believe he was the devoted husband until her last breath. Lisa shifted uncomfortably, her eyes darting to the baby, then to me, like I was a bomb about to go off. She wasn't wrong. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to make them feel the weight of what they'd done. But I didn't. I just stood there, my hands shaking, trying to process the audacity of it all. The baby Elizabeth cooed again, and I hated how much she looked like Mom already. Same dark curls, same tiny nose. It wasn't fair. Mom should have been here, holding her own grandkids, not being used as a prop for Dad's redemption arc. You don't get to do this, I said finally, my voice steady despite the storm inside. You don't get to slap her name on your mistake and call it love. Dad flinched, but Lisa spoke up, her voice soft but firm. Clara, I know this is hard, but we thought it would bring some peace, some connection. Peace. I wanted to laugh again, but it caught in my throat. There was no peace in this. There was only the jagged edge of grief, sharpened by betrayal. I turned to leave, but Dad grabbed my wrist, his grip desperate. Clara, please, I know I messed up. I know I hurt her, but I loved your mom, and I'm trying to make things right. His eyes were wet now, and for a second, I saw the man who used to carry me on his shoulders, who danced with Mom in the kitchen to old Sinatra songs. But that man was gone, buried under years of lies. I pulled my hand away. You don't make things right by rewriting history, I said. You live with what you did. I walked out, the rain outside matching the chaos in my chest, and didn't look back. The next few weeks were a blur. I threw myself into work, into late-night runs, into anything that kept me from thinking about Dad and his new family. But Mom's memory was everywhere, her laugh in the wind, her scent in the lilac bushes outside my apartment. I kept seeing that baby's face, those curls, and it tore me apart. Was I wrong to shut Dad out? Was I punishing an innocent kid for his sins I didn't know? All I knew was that every time I thought of that name, Elizabeth, my heart clenched like a fist. I started avoiding Dad's calls, letting them pile up in voicemails I couldn't bear to listen to. But one night, after too much wine and too little sleep, I played one. His voice was hoarse, broken. "Clara, I'm sorry. I just, I miss her too. Please talk to me." I didn't call back, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. What was he trying to do? Was this really about Mom? Or was it about easing his own guilt? I needed answers. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to Mom's grave. It was a gray morning, the cemetery quiet except for the crunch of leaves under my boots. Her headstone was simple, just her name, Elizabeth Marie Thompson, and the dates that marked her too short life. I sat there, tracing the letters with my fingers, and talked to her like she could hear me. What do I do? Mom, how do I forgive him when he hurt you so bad? The wind didn't answer, but I felt her there, in the way the air softened around me. When I finally agreed to meet Dad again, it was on my terms, a coffee shop, neutral ground, no Lisa, no baby. He looked older than I remembered. His shoulders hunched like he was carrying the weight of the world. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he started, but I cut him off. "This isn't about me. It's about her. Why her name? Dad. Why now?" He sighed, rubbing his hands together like he was trying to warm them. "Because I see her in you, in that baby. Because I thought it would keep her alive." His voice broke, and for the first time, I saw the grief he'd been hiding. Not just for Mom, but for the family we used to be. I didn't forgive him that day. I couldn't. But I started to see the mess of it all, not just his betrayal, but his regret, his clumsy attempt to hold on to something he'd lost. We talked more after that, slowly, painfully. I met Lisa again, and though I'd never call her family, I saw the way she looked at that baby, the same way Mom used to look at me. Elizabeth, the baby, wasn't the problem. She was just a kid, caught in the wreckage of adult mistakes. One day I held her, and those curls brushed my cheek, and I cried for the first time in months. Not for Dad, not for Lisa, but for Mom, and for the part of me that still wanted to believe in second chances. Months turned into a year, and things didn't get easier, but they got clearer. Dad and I built something new, not the old trust, but a fragile understanding. I started visiting more, not for him, but for Elizabeth. She was toddling now, saying Claw in a voice that melted me despite myself. I'd tell her about Mom, about the woman whose name she carried, whose strength she'd hopefully inherit. I'd show her pictures, play Mom's favorite songs, make sure she knew who Elizabeth Thompson was, not just a name, but a light that still burned in me. Dad never stopped apologizing, and I never stopped feeling the sting of what he did. But I learned something Mom always knew. Love doesn't erase pain, but it can carry you through it. I wasn't sure if Dad naming his kid Elizabeth was right or wrong. It was both. Maybe a desperate act of love wrapped in a mistake. But I decided to live with the question, to let it be messy, like life. I'd keep Mom's memory alive my way, not his, and maybe that was enough. What do you think was Dad's choice to name his child after Mom, a genuine act of honor, or a selfish attempt to ease his guilt? Share your thoughts, because I'm still figuring it out. End